Hello and welcome to Kingdom in Context. I'm Sean. Thank you for joining us here for our Sabbath fellowship. I'm joined by my lovely wife, Lindsay.
Hey guys, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sweetie.
Shabbat Shalom, babe.
Thank you for doing this with me. It's always an honor. I appreciate your insight and your wisdom into our reading, and we appreciate everyone in the live chat. Thank you for joining us here. Now, we often grow to a little over 100 people in live chat here. And then it looks like on our Rumble channel, whenever we're done, we have 100 unique viewers, is what it says.
Awesome.
So that means within the first, I think, 24 hours. But guys, if you haven't already, we're multi-streaming this right now on our Rumble channel and our Kick channel. Go subscribe to our Kick channel as well. And if you're not already on Rumble, go do that as well. We don't know how long YouTube is going to let us be here. We just don't.
You're not helping us as it is.
No,
so.
they've greatly diminished how many people are suggested our videos and the reach that we're receiving. So Kick apparently is without censorship, and they have just as robust of a live chat. So you guys are welcome to go over there as well. And same thing with Rumble. So you guys are a blessing. Thank you so much for considering that just for the future. All right, guys. We don't have any announcements this week. So
no, I totally forgot. We had some fundraisers last week.
Yeah, we don't have any this week to talk about, but if you are looking for a place to give alms, go to our video last week. Video description are some good options for you, some families in need. Okay, we're picking up our study in Jeremiah. We're in chapter 37 through 39 this week. Jeremiah is a big book.
It is. I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, where are we? Gosh, we're in the 30s. We still got, there's like 50 chapters, right?
I think like 50, 52, 53.
Yeah. A little while to go.
Yeah. So I think we had talked about maybe doing a New Testament book after this.
Okay.
And kind of switching up a little bit. And just because we're trying to give people a focus into the middle of the Bible. We've already gone through, what have we gone through?
First and second Samuel. We've gone through Zechariah.
Went through Zechariah.
Daniel.
The book of Daniel. Now we're doing Jeremiah. Before we jump into another large book like Ezekiel or Isaiah, I figured we kind of switched up a little bit with some New Testament stuff, maybe even a smaller Old Testament book in this same time period like Second Esdras. So anyway, we'll talk about it in the future. It's 14 chapters. So
I was thinking like Obadiah.
That's like one chapter.
I mean, Jonah is like what, 4 chapters?
Yeah, three or 4. Yeah. All right, so let's jump into it. Chapter 37, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, made Zedekiah, son of Josiah, the king of Judah, and he reigned in the place of Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim. But he and his officers and the people of the land refused to obey the words of the Lord that had spoken through Jeremiah the prophet. Okay, we're going to do a mic check real quick.
Mic check 1, 2. Hello. Mic check.
Let's turn that off. You might need to get closer to your mic.
Mic check 1, 2, 1, 2. Let us know how it sounds. Fam in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, we really can't. Lindsay sounds low. We got all the things going. You just may have to speak closer into it. I don't know what's going on.
Well, another thing is better. There's a couple second delay in the chat.
Yeah. So. Okay. We'll keep going for this first chapter. If it still sounds bad at the end of the first chapter, please let us know. Okay. So verse 2, he and his officers and the people of the land refused to obey the words that Yahweh had spoken through Jeremiah the prophet. Yet King Zedekiah sent Jehoiakim, son of Shelemiah, and Zephaniah the priest, the son of Maaseiah, to Jeremiah the prophet with the message, please pray to Yahweh our God for us. Now, Jeremiah was free to come and go among the people, for they had not put him in prison, not yet put him in prison. Pharaoh's army had left Egypt, and when the Chaldeans who were besieging Jerusalem heard the report, they withdrew from Jerusalem. Then the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah the prophet. This is the word of Yahweh, the God of Israel, and it says that you are to tell the king of Judah, who sent you to me? Behold, Pharaoh's army, which has marched out to help you, will go back to its own land of Egypt. Then the Chaldeans will return and fight against this city. They will capture it and burn it down. This is what Yahweh says. Do not deceive yourselves by saying the Chaldeans will go away for good, for they will not. Indeed, if you were to strike down the entire army of the Chaldeans that's fighting against you, and only wounded men remained in their tents, they would still get up and burn this city down. When the Chaldean army withdrew from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, Jeremiah started to leave Jerusalem to go to the land of Benjamin to claim his portion there among the people. But when he reached the gate of Benjamin, the captain of the guard, whose name was Elijah, son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, seized him and said, "You are deserting the Chaldeans." "That's a lie," Jeremiah replied. "I'm not deserting to the Chaldeans." But Elijah would not listen to him. Instead, he arrested Jeremiah and took him to the officials. The officials were angry with Jeremiah, and they beat him and placed him in jail in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for it had been made into a prison. So Jeremiah went into a cell in the dungeon and remained there a long time. Later, King Zedekiah sent for Jeremiah and received him in his palace, where he asked him privately, "Is there a word from Yahweh?" These dudes. "There is," Jeremiah replied. "You'll be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon."
Yet again.
No. Then Jeremiah asked King Zedekiah, "How have I sinned against you or your servants or these people that you've put me in prison? Where are your prophets who have prophesied to you, claiming the king of Babylon will not come against you or this land? But now please listen, O Lord my king. May my petition come before you. Do not send me back to the house of Jonathan the scribe, or I will die there." So King Zedekiah gave orders for Jeremiah to be placed in the courtyard of the guard and given a loaf of bread daily from the streets of the bakers until all the bread in the city was gone. So Jeremiah remained in the courtyard of the guard.
Mm-hmm. This poor guy.
Yeah, so this consistent message we've seen for 37 chapters is that Yahweh says, "I've called you to be a prophet. I formed you in your mother's womb. Do not be afraid. They will not overcome you.
Yeah.
But you're going to consistently tell them to repent and sin. And even if they do repent, Babylon is still going to conquer you and exile you."
Yeah.
And for who knows what, 20 plus years, if not longer, he's been telling them this. And they, instead of them preparing themselves, they continually just think he's the jerk.
Yeah, and yet they still come back to him like, "Hey, you got another word from that Lord guy?" Like, did that Yahweh guy say anything else now? Did he say something different than last time? If it's something different than last time, we want to know. If not, we're putting you in jail. It's like, it's wild.
And even verse 3, they're even asking him to pray for him.
Yes.
"Please pray to Yahweh our God for us."
That's like Pharaoh in Egypt asking Moses to, can you go talk to your God for me real quick?
Yeah.
It's like, how about you just do what he's telling you to do?
Oh yeah. Moses. Okay, we relented. Please talk to your God for us. Ask him for these beetles and these lice to go away, these gnats and flies and frogs. We're sorry. But they're not sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm guessing they already knew, because the siege is already being taken place. They already know that there's just a find out. So it's like Zedekiah didn't really help out Jeremiah that much. Unless they were starving him out, because they're going to do that in the next chapter. They're going to try to starve him to death.
Yeah.
So unless in the house of the scribe, this makeshift dungeon they made, unless they were trying to starve him there, then he's like, "Oh, that's fine. Take him out of the dungeon, but just give him what's left of the bread in the city until it's gone."
Yeah.
It's like, Zedekiah, you're not helping. Like, what's going on here?
I'm sorry, did I miss a part where Zedekiah said that he would help him?
Well, he's asking for his help. How have I sinned against you? Where the prophets that are prophesying good things for you, but now please listen to me, O Lord my king. This is Jeremiah speaking. May my petition come before you. Do not send me back to the house of Jonathan the scribe. That's the dungeon that they had made for him. See, they turned it into a jail. So Zedekiah, instead of being like, "Oh, I'll release you from captivity," he just changes the location of his captivity to ensure he gets daily bread.
Yeah.
Until the bread runs out. Bro, come on.
That's
So
wild.
Yeah, some psychological games.
On a deeper level here, I'm pondering, meditating on the fact that they're at a state where they have now turned different areas into prisons.
Right.
Which is, I did a post last year because I did this deep dive study on, prison is not a commanded punishment in the scriptures.
Right.
And this system of prison, of just housing someone indefinitely, all of us in America could see there are so many problems with that. Of course, you also have the question of, well, what do you do with all these violent, crazy people? Which is like where capital punishment, in my opinion, came in the ancient days. But it's interesting to notice that they are now at a place of their seared consciences where they're making a makeshift prison to imprison not just someone, but an actual prophet. So it's just it's been something that I've noticed since I did that study last year, this contrast between the nations and how they do things. And all these kings in the nations have some sort of prison or dungeon, that they're throwing people into and containing people in. I mean, how long was Joseph in prison? He was actually imprisoned, wasn't he?
2 years, right?
Yeah. So it's just interesting to look now and notice this is, in my opinion, this is another form of corruption that actually isn't really touched on in scripture. But in my opinion, it's another red flag of seared consciences that they're okay with now, imprisoning people, especially unlawfully. So I don't know how significant that is to anyone else, but
it makes you wonder where they got the idea, because you don't see it in the law of God. Now, practically, you would have to have some place of detainment.
Yes.
If there's an abundance of crime in Israel, and the judges can only, hear a case one at a time,
Yes.
right? So this is why they had circuit court judges. They had like different layers of judges. But like in America, we're backed up. So, people will be in jail, not prison, but in jail, awaiting their date in court for 1.5 years.
Oh yeah, sometimes even longer. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the thing that I did find in the research is that, yes, they had to have a practice of containing somebody for a trial. Absolutely. They would have someone that they needed to contain for trial, but prison as a punishment,
right?
Not a thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It is in Enoch.
Is it?
The rebellious angels are put in Tartarus.
Oh, well, yeah.
They're put in Tartarus. It's a prison under the earth.
That's true.
It's under the jail.
Yeah, Sheol is even considered a prison for all the souls down there, isn't it?
By consequence, but by forced detainment to Tartarus, excuse me.
Yeah.
To Tartarus. Tartarus is the imprisonment of the angels.
Yeah.
So it makes you like, okay. Makes you wonder, is that where
the idea comes from?
These corrupt nations,
fallen angels,
from rebellious Azazel, who's still out going, oh, you want to imprison my companions?
Yeah.
How about I imprison your people in the same way?
My men have to suffer languishing away in their cells.
Yeah.
So your creation will languish in their cells.
Interesting idea, because you definitely don't see it in scripture anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine because like we already talked about, there's only so many sins in the Torah that lead unto death.
Right.
All the other ones is financial recompense, right? You either go into servitude or you pay 4 times back what you stole or whatnot.
Yeah.
There's usually financial recompense. It's not being detained in a prison.
Yeah. You don't pay for it with time.
And supposedly they would even give lashes. Jeremiah 25. So that's quick and that's over.
Yeah.
It's done. You know what I mean? But if you're detaining a murderer until you can find enough evidence to convict him, you would have to detain him somehow. Yeah. But to turn it into a long-term thing is the problem. Okay. So this is why we are clearly in favor of prison reform. We don't like the system of that is going on in this country. We think it's absolute torture.
Well, and not just that, but it just creates more criminals, actually. I mean,
there's no reform going on.
Go to prison and they're not rehabilitated. They just become more hardened criminals because prison is its own society now.
Right.
And it's a totally jacked up society.
Yeah, they should just it should just be Torah based, You either owe or you're killed. It's very simple. You're taken out, you're cut off from your people, or you pay back what you've stolen, or you make restitution. All right, chapter 38. Now, Shephatiah, the son of Matan, Gedaliah, the son of Pashur, Jukal, the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, the son of Malchijah. See, I just spoke in tongues, guys. Spirit's flowing. Heard that Jeremiah had been telling all the people, this is what Yahweh says. Whoever stays in the city will die by sword and famine and plague, but whoever surrenders to the Chaldeans will live. He will retain his life like a spoil of war, and he will live. This is what Yahweh says. The city will be surely delivered into the hands of the army of the king of Babylon, and he will capture it. Then the officials said to the king, this man ought to die, for he's discouraging the warriors who remain in this city, as well as all the people, by speaking such words to them. This man is not seeking the well-being of these people, but their ruin. You know, I just thought of Zedekiah when he brought Jeremiah out of the prison and says, you got a word from the Lord for me. I wonder if he was wanting a different word of the Lord. Like, I wonder if he was like, do you got a word from the Lord for me? Like, you got what I want to hear now?
Yeah, I thought that's
what
obvious.
I thought he was still imploring out of fear because they're being besieged at the time. I thought he was still just asking. And Jeremiah's like, I got the same word I've always had for you.
Yeah.
Which is you're gonna be captured and taken.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna but I'm just wondering if he was like implying, hey, you got a different word for me? You got something positive now? Anyway, something to think about. Verse 5, here he is, replied King Zedekiah. He's in your hands, since the king can do nothing to stop you. So they took Jeremiah and they dropped him into the cistern of Malchiah, this king's son, which was in the courtyard of the guard. They lowered Jeremiah with ropes into the cistern, which had no water but only mud, and Jeremiah sank down into the mud. Now, Ebed-Melech, the Cushite, a court official, in the royal palace, he heard that Jeremiah had been put into the cistern, while the king was sitting at the gate of the gate of Benjamin. Ebed-Melech went out from the king's palace and went and said to the king, my lord, the king, these men have acted wickedly in all that they've done to Jeremiah the prophet. They have dropped him into the cistern where he will starve to death, for there is no more bread in this city. So the king commanded Ebed-Melech the Cushite, take 30 men from here with you and pull Jeremiah the prophet out of the cistern before he dies. Then Ebed-Melech took the men with him and went to the king's palace to a place below the storehouse. And from there he took old rags and worn out clothes and lowered them with ropes to Jeremiah in the cistern. Ebed-Melech the Cushite cried out to Jeremiah, put these worn out rags and clothes around your arms to pad the ropes. So Jeremiah did so, and they pulled him up with the ropes and lifted him out of the cistern. And Jeremiah remained in the courtyard of the guard. Then King Zedekiah sent for Jeremiah the prophet and received him at the third entrance to the house of Yahweh. I'm going to ask you for something, said the king to Jeremiah. Don't hide anything from me. If I tell you, Jeremiah replied, you will surely put me to death, and even if I give you advice, you won't listen to me. But King Zedekiah swore secretly to Jeremiah, as surely as Yahweh lives, who has given us this life, I will not kill you, nor will I deliver you into the hands of these men who are seeking your life. Then Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, this is what Yahweh, God of hosts, the God of Israel, says. If you indeed surrender to the officers of the king of Babylon, then you will live. This city will not be burned down. You and your household will survive. But if you don't surrender to the officers of the king of Babylon, then this city will be delivered into the hands of the Chaldeans. They'll burn it down, and you yourself will not escape their grasp. But King Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, I'm afraid of the Jews who have deserted to the Chaldeans, for the Chaldeans may deliver me into their hands to abuse me. They will not hand you over, Jeremiah replied. Obey the voice of Yahweh and what I'm telling you, that it may go well with you and you may live. But if you surrender, this is the word that Yahweh has shown me. If you refuse to surrender, this is the word Yahweh has shown me. All the women who remain in the palace of the king of Judah will be brought out to the officials of the king of Babylon, and those women will say, they misled you and overcame you, those trusted friends of yours. Your feet sank into the mire, and they deserted you. All your wives and children will be brought out to the Chaldeans, and you yourself will not escape their grasp, for you will be seized by the king of Babylon, and this city will be burned down. Then Zedekiah warned Jeremiah, do not let anyone know about this conversation, or you will die. If the officials hear that I've spoken with you, and they come and demand of you, tell us what you said to the king, and what he said to you. Don't hide it from us, or we will kill you. And then tell them, I was presenting to the king my petition that he not return me to the house of Jonathan to die there. When all the officials came to Jeremiah and questioned him, he relayed to them the exact words the king had commanded him to say. So they said no more to him, for no one had overheard the conversation. And Jeremiah remained in the courtyard of the guard until the day Jerusalem was captured.
So he was doing exactly what you were thinking. Is he's like, do you got any good news in there?
Yep.
Which, if you obey, that's good news.
That's right.
Zedekiah.
Then you will live. He keeps telling him over and over again, you want to live? Here's how you live. And here's the bigger issue. Because of their mindset, they don't realize, like I hear you, Sam, this is what I'm addressing right now, right? The king is acting duplicitous because he's refusing to acknowledge our sin has destroyed the covenant.
Yeah.
And it's judgment time. Yeah. Yahweh has announced it's too far. Enough is enough. You're going to be scattered. You've broken the covenant for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I've had enough. And they refuse to acknowledge that Yahweh is serious because they never took him serious to start.
Yeah.
So why, it's like, oh, but we want some good news from the God.
Yeah.
Bring the mystic in from the God that we may hear some good news from this one too. Meanwhile, contemporary with Jeremiah is Ezekiel. They're worshiping other gods in the temple to Yahweh right now.
Yeah.
While this conversation is going on, Ezekiel chapter 9 is happening.
Yeah.
They're worshiping a false god in a secret room inside the temple of Yahweh. Like they're spitting in Yahweh's face so badly. And Yahweh is still telling them how to save themselves.
Yeah.
He's being super merciful. This could have been a Sodom and Gomorrah moment. Yahweh could have just said, you know what? I'm done. Fire. Forget the Chaldeans. They can stay home.
Yeah.
I'll take care of this. Fire down on the city and we're done. But like he's still trying to save as many as possible, even though they're engaged in outright false worship to a false god in the house of Yahweh and all around the land at this very moment that Jeremiah is having this conversation. It's wild to me. Like the mercy of Yahweh is incredible. Absolutely incredible. A man that asks you not to take his name in vain, but when you do for hundreds of years, he still shows you love.
Yeah.
Just like, bro.
It's amazing.
A king that deserves to destroy you with lightning, but call down fire from heaven on you, but doesn't. You know what I'm saying? No other God deserves to take vengeance on mankind because they're wicked too, right? Only the one true God who is righteous and holy as we are to be holy deserves to behave in divine justice. And he withholds it way more than he delves it out.
Yeah.
Like he's so good, guys. You have no understand. Like most people don't realize just how good he is.
I think it can be easy from a Torah mindset to read through these books and kind of, read with a tisk at the Israelites and get focused on looking at their disobedience and gosh, how couldn't they just obey him, and kind of forget to look at the long suffering and the mercy of the Father throughout all of this, because, and not as a license to sin, but just in how we treat other people, how we look at other people with whatever sins they're struggling with. I mean, even in our own lives, there's a lot of times I try to think to myself how quickly I may want you to, change some habit of yours. And then I think to myself, how patient has God been with me in habits that he would like me to change? And maybe I need to give the same grace that God gives me with you, with family, with my mother. I've been working on that, trying to see people through his eyes. Man, it really brings you down quite a few notches with that tisk, that looking at others like, oh, why can't you just get your S together? And then it's like, I probably don't have hardly any of my S together in God's eyes, like in terms of walking in any kind of perfection. So why do I expect perfection from all these other people, So yeah, I don't know. It's just an underlying theme through the whole middle of the book that I think gets overlooked, especially in the Torah crowd, because a lot of us are focused on shaming the Israelites for being so disobedient. It's like, oh, there's a whole nother aspect to view this through.
So Zedekiah gives up what his pressure point is here. He's not afraid of his own royal palace advisors or the people that are still in the land of Israel with him who have not yet gone into exile. He's actually afraid of people who've already gone into exile that he says are deserters. Because remember, Jeremiah was claimed to be a deserter.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was some internal conflict there between like a mini civil war between those who desert to the Chaldeans and those
obeyed the Father.
Well, I don't know. Because if they're obeying the Father, why would they then persecute Zedekiah when they get their hands on him?
That's just Zedekiah's fear speaking, though. It doesn't say that they will do that.
Either way,
they clearly obeyed. He's been telling them for 20 years at this point
the start
to
of
surrender.
I get it. That's Jeremiah's words, not Zedekiah. The start of this chapter is people find Jeremiah and they accuse him of being a deserter and imprison him as a result of it. Yeah, so there is some sort of conflict going on between the remaining Israelites and those who deserted or are thinking about deserting. And even though Jeremiah is preaching, do desert, this is the word of Yahweh. Yeah. You should give over yourself. Yes. But there seems to be some conflict that's arisen within these two groups, is all I'm saying.
Of course, because these people who have seared consciences, who are in denial about what has been prophesied for years, of course they would be angry at the people who do obey the Lord and surrender over to the Chaldeans and give themselves over to Babylon. I don't see why there wouldn't be conflict with that. Why wouldn't there be? These people aren't right. You're not saying these people are right to call them deserters and think that the people who went to Babylon are wrong. We know that the people who deserted are actually doing the Lord's will.
That's it. That's an assumption we would make from Jeremiah's message. I don't know why Zedekiah, unless it's just sinful paranoia, I don't know why he thinks they would abuse him.
Because he is prolonging the destruction of the city of Jerusalem. God keeps saying, if you surrender now, the city won't be destroyed. I know the message.
No, the city will be destroyed. He said that over and over. This city will be destroyed over and over. It's not, you're not stopping it. It will be burnt down regardless of what you do. He even says the lame, even if Pharaoh destroys the Chaldean army and all that's left is the lame, they're going to get out of their tents and still burn the city to the ground.
I would say that Zedekiah is in some form of sedition and some sort of treason. Like the people who are in Babylon who obeyed Yahweh, do they have the right to torture him or something when he comes to the land of the Chaldeans? No, not necessarily. And I don't think anything is saying that.
I think there's more than two. There's more groups to consider.
This is literally just Zedekiah saying what he's afraid of from these Jews. I guess I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you
remember what we've talked about?
That you think they would abuse him?
I don't know. I'm just saying this is his fear. He stated his fear finally, because my before he states this, my guesswork would have been, oh, he's afraid of his own officials and what left of the military may have in his own land.
Yeah.
To make the public announcement, Jeremiah's correct. He would just be afraid of immediate mutiny and try to take over his throne with the people in his land. But instead, he's talking about he seems to be afraid of the people that have already been deserted into the Chaldeans. So I just know that this seems to be, because we're at the final siege, this seems to be at the end of the 20-year process by which Babylon has had 3 different stages of exiles of Israel. So they've attacked them for 20 years now, off and on. And this final push is the final one that they do to overcome Jerusalem finally. So, because remember, the only fortified cities that are left from we read a few chapters ago was Gibeah. I think it was Gibeah. Maybe I'm wrong. It was 2 cities, Ashkenazi or something like that. There's like 2 cities left plus Jerusalem. And either way, there's conflict is all I'm saying, is that there's conflict here between the groups of people. There's essentially, at a macro scale, looking back in history, this is chaos. Yeah. It's 20 years of people that refuse to follow Yahweh's ways. Here comes judgment. And while the judgment is not immediate, it's not like it's all going to happen in a short week, right? It's not like modern day where you can just take over aircraft carriers and fly over B-2 bombers and destroy most of the infrastructure in a week, right? It was a long, drawn out 20-year process of a major power, Babylon, attacking what seemed to be a pretty substantially strong Israel at the time, who also had alliances with Egypt. Mm-hmm. So Yahweh is just trying to get it, like we talked about like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It has this prolonged time of attack has given the Israelites time to repent, and Yahweh through Jeremiah multiple chances to tell the people to repent and go ahead and give yourself over to Chaldea, because it's going to happen regardless of what you do. And so it just seems as if, I don't know the motivation of the people that deserted, whether it was because of Jeremiah's word or not. Even if we assumed it was because of Jeremiah's word, the destruction of the city has been announced. It's unstoppable by Jeremiah. So I don't know if that would have been their motivation to be mad at King Zedekiah, because King Zedekiah, nothing he's doing is delaying the destruction of the city. It's going to happen. Anyway, this is my thoughts. It's just an interesting aspect of his mentality, because usually you think as a king, if you show weaknesses, the next guy's going to, stab you in the back and take over.
Well, I think that's why he was so clear to say, don't tell anyone about this conversation ever. Nobody overheard the conversation.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's afraid on all fronts. He surely is.
To me personally, it would make sense that there would be all kinds of conflict with this. And I think there would, of course, be faithful remnant of believers who hear what Jeremiah is saying and heed his words and surrender themselves over to Babylon. So, and to me, it makes sense that Zedekiah would just assume that those people would have it out for him. Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, it all makes sense.
Cool.
There'd be differences like that.
All right. Anything else on 38 that you want to comment on?
No, I don't think so.
So in 39, verse 1, it says, "This is in the 9th year of Zedekiah, the king of Judah, in the 10th month. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, marched against Jerusalem with his entire army and laid siege to the city. And on the 9th day of the 4th month of Zedekiah's 11th year, the city was breached." The 9th day of the 4th month. So it was like a year and a half. That's interesting. Then all the officials of the king of Babylon entered and sat in the middle gate. Nergal-Sharezer of Samgar, Nebo-Sarsakim of Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer of Rabmag, and all the rest of the officials of the king of Babylon. So just as something we point out to people often, if you haven't seen our Investigating Babylon series, Nergal is who we have concluded is the actual name of the second beast of Revelation that comes out in Revelation 13. He is one of the ancient gods whom the Chaldeans and the Assyrians viewed as Nergal or Ea. To the Egyptians, he would have been Anubis. To the Greeks and the Romans, he would have been Hermes. So anyway, so he's there. Like they're naming people after him. He's in the backdrop of the gods that the Chaldeans worshipped. So, all right. Verse 4, "When Zedekiah, the king of Judah, and all the soldiers saw them, they fled. They left the city at night by the way of the king's garden through the gate between the two walls, and they went out along the route to the Arabah. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. They seized him and brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, where he pronounced judgment on them. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and he also killed all the nobles of Judah. Then he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him with bronze chains to take him to Babylon. The Chaldeans set fire to the palace of the king and to the houses of the people. They broke down the walls of Jerusalem. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away to Babylon the remnant of the people who had remained in the city, along with the deserters who had defected to him. But Nebuzaradan left behind in the land of Judah some of the poor people who had no property, and at that time he gave them vineyards and fields. Now Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had given orders about Jeremiah through Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, saying, "Take him and look after him. Do not let any harm come to him. Do for him whatever he says." So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, Nebuchadnezzar, the Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, the Rabmag, and all the captains of the king of Babylon had Jeremiah brought from the courtyard of the guard, and they turned him over to Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, to take him home. So Jeremiah remained among his own people. And while Jeremiah had been confined in the courtyard of the guard, the word of Yahweh had come to him. "Go and tell Ebed-Melech the Cushite that this is what Yahweh of the hosts, the God of Israel, says. I'm about to fulfill my words against the city for harm and not for good, and on that day they will be fulfilled before your eyes. But I will deliver you on that day, declares Yahweh, and you will not be delivered into the hands of the men whom you fear. For I will surely rescue you so that you do not fall by the sword. Because you have trusted in me, you will escape with your life like a spoil of war, declares Yahweh."
I just love that honorable mention there. And actually, that was something I wanted to say about the last chapter and forgot that I just love how faithful the Ethiopians always are.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what's up here with the transfer of regions, right? Ethiopia's a long way from Israel. So, but this guy is now in the land of Israel and in the court palace.
Yeah, I would think he's
working with the prophet and the priests.
I would think he's like Uriah the Hittite. I would think he is someone who's technically a foreigner, but he has come. It looks like he's come to live in the land of Israel, because we've talked about Ethiopia before, how lots of people in Ethiopia over the centuries have been followers of Yahweh, but they didn't fully convert in terms of going and becoming citizens of the physical nation of Israel and living in that area. But this looks like a Cushite who possibly has done that he's actually living in Israel. He has, I wouldn't be surprised if he's wearing tassels, if he's like dressed like an Israelite.
He's how was the introduction here? He was like in the court of the king, like he's one of the assistants, and he was
clearly around to see those men kidnap Jeremiah and put him in the cistern.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And he has some sway with the king to have his request granted.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. By this time in Ethiopia's history, they would have already been claiming connection to Solomon's throne.
They already have supposedly another temple built in what's it called?
Yeah.
The outer region of what's that called? Elephantine Island.
Yep.
So there's some things, man. There's some things that are not like, we don't talk about this often, guys, but there's some unique aspects from Solomon to Christ about temples being built in Egypt that is hard to explain.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. It's hard to explain because it seems as if Yahweh doesn't talk about them, or at least in the scriptures we have today.
Yeah.
you gotta start wondering. I mean, we've done the video already, guys, where Justin Martyr and Irenaeus both are saying that the Jews were chopping up scripture to change it. And Jeremiah is one of them that doesn't match the Masoretic, not in placement nor in length. It's different. So the Septuagint, I should say, and the Masoretic don't match in Jeremiah, but it just makes you wonder, like, why is Ptolemy in their area of like Memphis? Why is he building a temple in the 3rd century BC?
Yeah.
200 years after the days of 400 years after the days of Jeremiah.
Also, wasn't it Ptolemy who commissioned the Septuagint?
Well, yes, it was. Yeah. And the priest that built the temple for him was Onias, who claimed to be of the right lineage.
Interesting.
And then you've got this thing going on with the Ethiopians in Elephantine Island, where they got an outpost that Solomon set up down there and also put up a temple there. And they had supposedly a vast library of literature down there as well, which is all in Aramaic, which I haven't been able to determine yet if anyone's translated it and talked about it. And supposedly they found the library, but you don't hear much about it archaeologically. So anyway, because to me, if there's things in there historically that challenge what possibly was chopped up in the 1st and 2nd century, like Justin and Aaron was talking about, I think it was Justin Martyr who at one point he's even saying that even in the Torah, there's some places where things just looked almost unrecognizable from what he saw that these Jewish leaders were doing.
Yeah.
And again, I can't, we love all people, okay, but we reserve the right to criticize a separate sect of religion for their behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
So we love people that are raised in Judaism. We love you with the love of Christ. But historically, we reserve the right to criticize what they may have, the obvious changes that they have made to the manuscripts for their own preferences, and even the testimonies of people in the 2nd century that are writing down, hey, we're watching you change this stuff in real time, not only to hide prophecies of Christ, but other changes that they didn't want or like. Yeah. So that's why when you go read what's it called? Not History of the Jews, but Antiquities of the Jews. And he goes through this elaborate breakdown of the Torah, Josephus does. It reads slightly differently in certain aspects than the Bibles we have today.
Interesting.
And you got to ask yourself, what is going on here? Because he was supposedly a Pharisee.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot here, guys. There's a lot. Thankfully, you cannot change the gospel of the kingdom. You cannot change the historical fact that Christ did show up on the earth, live, die, resurrect, and go back to heaven as our high priest. He will usher in God's kingdom, God's house as it comes down to the earth. You can't change that story and that message. But when we do a deep dive into the scriptures, you do notice there's details that are, manuscripts have details differently, and there's augmentation in different places. So, or there's just silence. Like, why were there multiple different temples built in Egypt to Yahweh under Levitical priesthoods that nobody talks about? So there's a lot going on here. All right. Well, that was the end of 39. Is there anything else in 39 that stuck out to you? Now, I mean, like the invasion happened. They destroyed the city. They burned it down.
Yeah. All of Zedekiah's children are killed in front of him, and then his eyes are gouged out. And it's like, bro,
this is exactly what Jeremiah said you could have avoided.
Defected, quote unquote. If you had just, quote unquote, deserted, then it sounds like at least all your sons would be alive and you'd still have your eyes. I mean, I think that's a better deal to come out with. But, he was, and all this time he was afraid of his brothers in the dispersion that he thought would be mad at him. But no, it's the king of Babylon that ended up being the one that was actually slaughtered his family and tortured him, basically.
Yep.
So-
Remember, several chapters ago, Jeremiah warned Zedekiah. He said, if you don't surrender, you will personally see the king of Babylon.
Yeah.
So that was like a big deal. Like, you don't step in front of another emperor of an empire.
Yeah. Especially when you haven't surrendered to
Yes.
him.
Yes. As an opposing king
Yeah.
and think that's going to go well.
Yeah.
Like, they slaughter you. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Literally uses the word slaughtered. And they usually do it in spectacle fashion,
Yeah.
like killing your sons right in front of you
Mhm.
and then gouging your eyes out. So it's the last thing you see.
Yeah.
And now you're blind for the rest of your life with that as your last memory.
Yeah.
Like, this is the sadistic nature of evil. And he could have avoided this had he just listened to the prophet.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. All right. So, interesting aspect of the captain of the guard giving property to the poor people and leaving them in the land.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
This
Interesting.
was perplexing when you and I first read this, but as we worked through it, it kind of made sense from the empire perspective, right?
Mhm.
Because that land now technically is Nebuchadnezzar's,
Uh-huh.
and he doesn't want to leave any valuable Chaldeans there.
Right. We also want to work the land and keep it, keep it, what's the word? Not being overrun through nature or animals, right? This
Yeah.
is exactly what they did with the Northern Kingdom,
Yeah.
with the Assyrian bringing in people into the land to live there.
Yes.
And then realizing, oh, we need to appease the god of that land because the land's
Yes.
revolting against us.
Yes.
Send the Levite over there to teach him to worship Yahweh.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically just maintaining a sense of stewardship in the lands that you conquer.
Yeah. As part of ancient politics.
Yeah, because you're basically like, now you have more people, more areas, more land to create money for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's other places where Nebuchadnezzar did salt all the fields and destroy the land forever.
Yeah.
So
So that one thing I was wondering, I'm wondering if Nebuchadnezzar was given specific instructions through Jeremiah, because we know Pharaoh Necho got specific instructions from Yahweh through Jeremiah. Would we think that Nebuchadnezzar, we know Nebuchadnezzar got direct visions from God that Daniel had to explain to him. So this just makes me wonder if Nebuchadnezzar was given any directives from the God of that land, to not salt and destroy that entire area of land. I wonder if he was told to leave some of the poor people here and let them tend to the land because the land is still going to needs its rest, obviously, but it just makes me wonder. There's so much that I've realized we don't know in terms of the conversation that happens with these pagan kings and prophets of Israel.
Well,
so it's an interesting thought experiment or whatever you want to call it.
Well, remember what we've been talking about, okay? This is the final siege where they actually destroy the city and fully exile everybody, with the 99.9% of everybody. And this is at the 20-year mark. And what have we already deduced from the book of Daniel? Is that Daniel went over as a young man, a young Levite, into captivity, and he was a youth, as it's called, right?
Yeah.
And that happened in the first or second wave. So Daniel's already in the court of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
So there's your counsel.
Yeah. Yes.
There's your, Jeremiah's a good guy.
Yeah.
He by the way, the word of the Lord from Jeremiah to all the people.
Yeah.
Remember where he had written a letter to the exiles already in Babylon?
Yes.
Saying, let me just real quick. Let me just finish. Right? Saying, hey, we're telling the king to give it up, stop resisting, stop fighting, and don't make an alliance with Pharaoh of Necho of Egypt. Instead, go into exile. This is the judgment of Yahweh. So the people over in exile already, remember, they had a false message from a false prophet who died a few chapters ago, chapter 28, I believe, where he was like, oh no, none of that's going to happen that Jeremiah said. In fact, we're going to be released and it's all going to be good again. And then he dies. So then Jeremiah's validated in the eyes of the exiles already in Chaldea, of which how much interaction does the three Hebrews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Daniel have with the other populace of exiles within them, to talk about Jeremiah's words being vindicated, to know what's going on, but communication between the two areas. Okay.
And we have Ezekiel in here somewhere too. As well, right? He's contemporary.
Well, yes, but he's to my knowledge, I believe Ezekiel is still in this last wave of people being taken.
Yes. No, I just mean in terms of a authoritative prophetic voices.
Okay.
All alive at the same time.
Yes.
Including Ezekiel is another verification of Jeremiah's words. They all confirm each other.
And as we read from Bel and the Dragon, Habakkuk, the prophet Habakkuk is alive.
Yeah.
He's doing miraculous things with Daniel back and forth between Israel and Chaldea. So there's the people in Chaldea already in exile are not without the news. They know what's being said by the prophets in Israel. It's the same consistent message. Israel's going to fall. You're going to be taken in exile.
Yeah.
Get used to it. You're going to be here for 70 years. Plant vineyards, build houses, whatever. Live your life here. This is what's happening.
And we know Daniel was advising Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. So
that's the top layer.
Circling back to what I was originally saying, that very easily could be if Nebuchadnezzar was given specific commands about how to treat that particular land, because he was so well known for what he did to the land after he would siege a place. So it seems like it's not within his normal practice to not completely destroy the land, and so nothing can grow there. For him to actually leave some people in a merciful fashion and let them tend that land, that doesn't seem to be within his normal practice. So it's interesting to think that, he was taking some direction from an actual man of God.
Well, at the same time, Daniel chapter 4 may have already happened. And he may have already had the moment where God humbled him.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because
I'm adding up these timelines, we don't know where because remember, this is Nebuchadnezzar 2.
Yes.
The son we're talking about. Nebuchadnezzar 1 was horrific as well.
Yeah.
But this is Nebuchadnezzar 2. And not that he's perfect, but he does acknowledge after his 7 years of depravity of mind that Yahweh is the Most High God who does what he wants. And he sends an edict to all 128 provinces of Babylon to say that, which would include his vassal king, Zedekiah.
Yeah.
So again, it'd be interesting if you could definitively line up all this stuff in a chronology and then put that in a movie.
Yeah.
Because you would have all these different aspects of prophets that are all moving simultaneously.
Yeah.
And you start to see how Yahweh throughout this whole time is protecting his people. The righteous remnants that went into exile, he's protecting them, giving them favor. He's doing exactly what his covenant says, which is when you're in exile, I will give you favor as long as you don't continue to, sin. If you repent and obey me and be faithful to the commandments still in exile, my covenant with you will be, I'll protect you and give you favor in the court of the foreign king and to whom you're serving at this point.
Yeah.
And we see that played out with Jeremiah and Daniel. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't give us, to my knowledge, it doesn't give us an update on what happened with Ezekiel when he goes into to exile, nor Habakkuk. But
if it's anything like with Jeremiah and Daniel, we would think God is faithful to that promise with them, just like he was with Jeremiah and Daniel.
Yeah. And then we got the entire apocalypse of Baruch, who was mentioned here in chapter 34.
That's right.
I mean, he's a prophet, priest, a Levite as well. And he's having these amazing end times prophecies plus fulfilled prophecies of this moment happening right here.
Yeah.
So in chapter 4. So there is an abundance and a wealth of literature corresponding simultaneous testimony to tell us that God is faithful to his covenant. And even when you're in exile under a foreign power, that foreign power may be back and forth, maybe sporadic, maybe, just completely evil, but you will still have favor and be protected if you follow God. Unless it's been announced that you will be killed and persecuted.
Yeah.
So there seems to be always a little caveat of, by the way, unless it's going to be announced. But then if that starts to happen, it seems to kind of super motivate Yahweh to rid the land. And we see that happening in the 3rd century persecution of Christians.
Yeah.
To where they start getting persecuted off and on over 10 different emperors. And then Yahweh's like, oh yeah, how about I just raise up a Christian emperor?
Yeah.
And then he destroys all idol worship from the land. Yeah, they're going to argue about Homosius, but behind that dumb argument, the actual thing that's happening in the practice of the faith is that all idolatry is being destroyed throughout the entire Roman Empire. So Yahweh knows how to get victories for sure, and he knows how to uphold his covenant. But I do think it's interesting though. Like if you put like a class picture, like you graduate from high school,
Yeah.
you have a class picture of these prophets of the day
Yeah.
would be astounding. Like if it would help people realize they're all alive at this time.
I just have to reiterate again how blessed I feel to get to be married to you and study with you on a regular basis like this, because granted, I wasn't a Christian for very long before we met. Okay. But when I would sit down and read through the Bible, you get this kind of chronological picture in your head that that's what I'm doing as I read through each one of these books. And so each book kind of becomes its own standalone book that you're reading. And there was never a time when I would be studying these books that I would ask myself, oh, okay, what time period is this? Who else is? It didn't even dawn on me to think what other prophets are out there at the same time. What other books in this book are actually written right around the same time and with the same historical events going on surrounding them, and just the absolute onion of layers that there are to this middle of the book story. It was nothing that ever stood out to me until sitting down with someone who knows the history surrounding these events, but also understands the timeline of it and where each prophet kind of fits in next to each other. In all the sermons I would listen to, not only was no one actually just reading through a book and just talking about it as they're reading through it, but anytime a pastor would go to a book from the Old Testament, they're like honing in on one or two verses. It's not about the history of that book. It's not about the events of that book or the real lessons that are in the whole entire book. It's like a few things they zoom in on. So it's so mind-blowing to be able to sit and like actually construct the picture in my mind, because that's something that's been missing from the picture in my mind as I'm reading through these middle books. It's like it almost is like something you're just forcing yourself to do because you want to read the Bible. You generally want to read the whole thing. You don't want to be one of those Christians who has never read it front to back.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like just checking it off the list, instead of really sitting in them and like marinating in them for a while, like we do with these week to week, actually just reading through the whole thing. And it's just such a different, level of understanding the actual physical history and the story going on. And setting aside, there's all kinds of spiritual lessons to learn from it and all kinds of cool things you can apply to your life. And sure, some of those sermons from those pastors may have been uplifting at the time. Maybe I heard something I needed to hear in that sermon at that time. But when I sit back and think about it, I'm like, man, the value of just sitting and reading through a chapter with people. And then let's talk about the chapter a little bit.
We should live on every word of the mouth of God.
It's just, it's a gift. I thank you for putting up with me and these, because you guys don't see, like Sean and I read these things by ourselves too. And we have conversation like this, we talk about the neat little tidbits we notice here and there. And I just feel like there's just so much more grasped and learned and pictured through this form of study than anything I've experienced with other forms of teaching. Not to throw any shade at all. I think everybody teaches in the way that they're called and people need fed in different ways. But I just love going through these middle books and putting that picture together and the timeline together, because it's really hard to grasp it on your own. It was for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, originally the context tree had timeline as one of the themes on it.
Yeah.
But I realized that like that's just boring. People won't, I'm not creative enough to know how to get people engaged with something like that.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to remind people of the overlapping timelines when we go through the books. But it does greatly help with comprehension of the text. If you know, like, these guys were like living in the same region, like these are the same peoples. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Especially with a big event happening like this.
Yeah.
You would think that Yahweh's got a lot of prophets to reassure them to the remnant.
Yeah.
Stay faithful. I'll protect you. I got you. We're going to bring people back here after 70 years. This is a hiccup for sure. Stay faithful. And then that's with frail and weak priests.
Yeah.
who are supposed to be the mouthpiece of Yahweh.
Mhm.
Leviticus 2:4-7. They're supposed to be the mouthpiece of Yahweh. And here we are with Christ Jesus at a bigger event
Yes.
with the destruction of the temple again, the
Mhm.
dispersion, not just for 70 years,
Yeah.
but for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
And to which will be rectified only a time and date that the Father knows.
Yeah.
Not even the angels in heaven or the Son knows, but only the Father in heaven knows the dates he's going to send back his Son and gather the people again into the land.
Right.
And so you would need a much better priest who's not wavering,
Yes.
who's not scared,
Yeah.
who's not, oh, Father, reassure me. And Yahweh's like, nothing, no harm is going to come towards you. I got you. Relax. It's okay. Like, we have a powerful high priest in heaven's temple to circumvent the frail and weaknesses of of mankind that we're reading about. And instead, he can just drop that spirit, do what he wants, when he wants. We've got Yahweh figured out the shortcut, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows the shortcut. He planned the shortcut. Yeah. But with making his son high priest, he instituted the cheat code, so to speak, so that he's now has the last Adam, who's a life-giving spirit, who has the power of an indestructible life, who can minister to him and have access to drop the gifts of the Spirit without fail, without fear, without pretense, without any bad doctrine, with perfect sound doctrine. And he can build up an incredible amount of people throughout the earth, through all nations and all peoples in exile, so that we can be a light to the nations and gather in the time of the Gentiles until the day he decides the number is done. Let's go back to the earth, and I'm going to take my house down at the same time. So it's fitting that we have such a priest that can facilitate not just this time of dispersion to assuage fears and to build up the body of believers to be the hands and feet as he is the head in a most glorious way, as Ephesians 4 says, so that he can fill all things within the body as he does as the captain of our faith, but also to facilitate the greater transition of the Father's house coming down. So, like, we're just reading more and more examples of why Christ is valuable from his priesthood position, because we've been reading about a priest this whole time.
Yeah, these middle books really, I think you and I have talked for years about how his priesthood has been obfuscated completely. It's been put on the back burner. It's not even in hindsight for people. They don't even think, when they call him a high priest, they don't even think about what that truly means, because for so long the focus has always been on his sacrifice, on him being a sacrifice, and mankind needed a perfect sacrifice, that they don't notice. No, mankind needed a perfect high priest. The sacrifices were never the problem. You can always do husbandry in a well enough way that you have animals without blemish that can be brought before the Father as he commands. To have a priest whose heart is clean to do that job on your behalf, that's the hard part. That's the miracle. To have a high priest in heaven who's not only is he never going to screw up, he's glorified, and he has this level of deity and this power in him, that he's not just that perfect high priest who can always make atonement for us. He's now also a spiritual shepherd who can come to us spiritually. I mean, that's how the Father's existence was revealed to me. It was Jesus came to me first and revealed himself. And then once I accepted that I was experiencing the presence of Jesus, that's when he revealed the presence of the Father. And I was like, oh my gosh, it is what they say. You are the Son of God, and so that's also special too. And I think that's something that gets missed until you get into these books and you're really, learning about the struggle of this earthly, I should say, priesthood, is that also you didn't necessarily have your priest on call 24/7. Your priest couldn't see your heart. He couldn't heal things in your heart for you. Christ is on this whole spiritual, supernatural level now as well. So it's not just the perfect atonement that we can always count on through him. It's also his actual shepherding of our hearts, his real, literal presence in our lives on a daily basis that you never got with an earthly priest.
Yeah.
So just another reason to be so grateful for the gift of our Messiah. It's going to make me cry. I'm just so grateful as you read through these middle books, that's the other aspect of the picture that I think does not get painted in churches for people, of how truly miraculous it is to have a high priest in heaven and what a big deal that is.
Yeah. One who was tempted in every way that we were, yet it was without sin.
Mm-hmm.
One who learned obedience from what he suffered.
Yeah.
So that Father exalted him for his obedience to his position. So it is just like, that's the thing that we're always emphasizing to people, is that this walk isn't about arguing over how to understand the nature of God. It's about your obedience. That's simple. That's all it's about. Luke 6:40, when a disciple is fully trained, he'll be like his master. That's it. It's about your obedience. Mm-hmm. So this is why in John 15, Jesus says that we are the branches, he's the vine, and his Father owns the vineyard. And that his Father will prune the branches and get rid and burn what's not useful, but prune to produce greater productivity from the branches that have a circumcised heart to him, right? And the Son is a part of that process in his priestly, because it's the Father's Spirit whom the Son has access to for that pruning process. So it is an amazing system the Father's put in place of mediation for us, the mediator who is also a shepherd. Yeah. So it's just an amazing aspect of what Hebrews 5 says, right? He was chosen from amongst men and was made like us in every way, so that he could sympathize with us in our weaknesses now that he's high priest. So he knows exactly how to prune us through his Father's Spirit. And
he can empathize with us, which is also amazing.
Yeah. It's it is a wholly unique message compared to all other religions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not just the end of the story, but the mediator in the story. Mm-hmm. You have no mediator to Zeus. You have nothing but whipping yourself in the back, cutting yourself, and blooding your knees in penance, hoping he doesn't kill you. You have no mediator to Ra or to Shiva. Like, now they'll say they have a priesthood. Don't get me wrong, but those priests facilitate human sacrifice. They don't mediate forgiveness and atonement for you.
I would say that they don't
with the fellowship meal.
Yeah, they don't have any mercy or grace being mediated for them.
Yeah,
it's appeasement. It's religions of appeasement. I have some pizza dough in the fridge, proofing I need to go pull out. So I will be right back.
All right, guys, if you have any questions about what we read today, if you want to drop those in the live chat, you're welcome to do that. I'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Hey, what's up, Diego? Diego's got a question asking your thoughts on biblical blessings. Abraham blessed Pharaoh versus his sons versus Abraham's sons, I'm guessing. The blessing that Abraham gave to Pharaoh versus the blessing Abraham gave to Abraham's sons. But Abraham had Ishmael and Isaac. I'm guessing that's what you're asking, brother. Priesthood versus firstborn. Jacob demanding a blessing from the angel. Our sacrifices, our obedience, our blessings. I know that you have limited text, brother, to work with. I can just speak a little bit on the ideas of blessings. I can definitely break down the difference between the blessing versus the firstborn inheritance. And I've done that in a full video. But if you want to expound a little bit more with something more succinct as an actual question, but ultimately the blessing that you see that Jubilees constantly repeats, that you see that Jacob is promised, that Isaac is promised, the child of blessing. This is why it's so important for us to know what those Hebrew words mean in Genesis 26:5, when it's talking about Abraham, who kept the charge of Yahweh because he was a priest. And this is why consistently in Jubilees, after it explains to you in chapter 21 that Abraham had become a priest, he gives this blessing down to his children through Isaac, through Jacob, and then through Levi, the blessing of the priesthood. Okay, so that's the difference, as opposed to just the right of inheritance of eldership and leadership in the firstborn, whom usually could get the blessing, but the blessing wasn't just upon eldership or firstborn; it also required a circumcised heart. So this is why Cain was worried about Abel, thought he was competition to him, assuming or succeeding Adam in the priestly blessing. And I'm not just speaking out of nowhere. This priestly blessing is what is being passed on in the book of Jubilees from from Levi to Isaac and Abraham, and it goes all the way back to Noah, to Shem, to Noah, down to Mahalalel, I believe, Enoch, Adam, all the way back to Seth and Adam. Obviously, Cain and Abel are excluded from that because of what happened with them. So, but that was the fear in Genesis 4, is that even though there's a caveat here, okay, the fear with Cain was that even though he was the firstborn, but technically, he was the firstborn, he was going to lose that position because of his bad heart, his uncircumcised heart. So this is why he's being reprimanded, told to be still, told to do what's right, bring the right proper amount in the Septuagint, that he would rule over his brother. He's being reassured of that if he stays within a circumcised heart and the actions that follow that. But of course he doesn't. Okay, because he still is viewing Cain or Abel in the wrong disposition. Same thing with Esau and Jacob. That's the beef with Esau and Jacob. Okay, is the difference between the firstborn inheritance blessing and the blessing of the priesthood. There's different ones. Esau cannot be made the priesthood. This is why Jubilees is so important for us to understand that story with Isaac, seeing that Abraham seeing that Isaac was favoring Esau when he should not have been. And he should have been favoring Jacob, because Jacob was the one with the circumcised heart to Yahweh and not Esau. And the blessing was going to go to the wrong person. You cannot, you're going to be instituting a corrupt priest. Why would you do that? So instead, but it would do that because Isaac was not rolling in proper judgment. Abraham noticed this, grandfather noticed this, and that's why he told Rebekah, make sure Jacob gets this blessing. Esau cannot get this blessing. So there's a difference there. There's a difference there in the language and the application of just being a firstborn and getting the right of inheritance, where you get the majority of the inheritance as a firstborn. That's a separate blessing from the blessing of the priesthood. And a lot of people believe that in Genesis 30, the blessing that Jacob is demanding is to be a part of rulership and priesthood, and not just physical wealth. He already had physical wealth. He left Laban with all the wealth. So again, if we take this idea of blessing, this is why in Jubilees chapter 32, then Jacob could fill the priestly blessing to his son Levi, and be a priest as well. Okay, so there's a sense of the blessing being attached. The blessing in Genesis and Jubilees that's stressed is not just about inheritance; it's attached to the priesthood more. A Bulldozer's asking, I heard someone teach that at Sinai the firstborn were meant to be priests, but after the golden calf, God switched to Levitical priesthood, Numbers 3:12-13. Yes, they teach that often. It is a common teaching, not just within Torah camps and Hebrew roots camps, but even within some mainstream Christian camps. And all of those teachings seem to forget and ignore everything I just said about Abraham, everything I just explained. Like, there's already a priesthood. They also seem to forget or just overlook the application of the blessing of Exodus 19:5-6 of this royal priesthood that's promised is being repeated by Peter, that we're made a part of a royal in 1 Peter 2. We're made a royal priesthood, right? When are you made a royal priesthood? Revelation tells you in Revelation 20, those who take part in the first resurrection, the rule and reign under Christ for 1,000 years over the nations. Just like Revelation 1, the blessed saints who have been made a priest to God, right, under Christ. Well, that fulfillment happens. You're not a priest unless you're ruling and reigning. So all the people running around today saying they're in the new covenant, they're already a priest, they're using language anachronistically. They're using language before it's become true. They don't realize that they're speaking proleptically, but so I can't really tell them that, but they don't know what that word means. But they're using language to say, "Oh, I'm a priest, provider, and king right now." And you're like, "No, you're not. You're not. You may be provider for your family, but you're not a king. You're not ruling and reigning over anybody, and you're not a priest. You're not in any temple in service to God. That's what a priest does. That's like the consistent definition of a priest. And part of that service to God is facilitating the sacrifices brought and teaching the people the law of Yahweh. So that this is the context of what a priest is. So people that teach this interpretation of Exodus to where they'll say, "Oh, all the Israelites were supposed to be a royal priesthood." Yes, that is the promise of the covenant of resurrection in the scriptures. And we see that fulfilled at the resurrection. First, Revelation 20, 4 through 6. So the people, there was already Levite priests before that statement, before these passages in Exodus 32 and Numbers 3 are talked about. Before the golden calf event, there's already a priesthood. Before Yahweh even starts speaking at Mount Sinai, there's already a priesthood there. It's in 19 and 20. There's priests at the base of the mountain. They're told that they have to consecrate themselves and not touch the mountain either, right? That they're already there. They're facilitating the burnt offering. The priests of Moses and Levi, according to Moses and Aaron, who are Levites, descendants of Levi, are there doing a burnt offering with Jethro in Exodus 18 to Yahweh, to the Most High God. That's the job of a priest. So yeah, it's just an interpretation that kind of ignores lots of things to make this specific type of interpretation. All right.
He's already been timed out.
Okay, cool.
I checked out his channel. He needs prayer.
I would imagine. Just look at his name.
He needs prayer.
Hey, what's going on, Alec? I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I'll check for my emails. I appreciate you, man. Good to see you. Okay, I don't see any other questions immediately.
Well, I can give a prompt to encourage some questions or suggestions.
Do you want to ask a question?
I wanted to ask the audience a question. I asked this on my Facebook page a while ago, but feel free to drop answers here in the chat or in the comments later. I have been interested in how people out there in this internet land feel about their needs being met in terms of their spiritual needs through the ministries that feed them online. There are only certain ways we can serve people through this medium, but I'm interested in hearing from others how they could be fed better. Now, this is in no way a guarantee that it's whatever subject you want to hear Sean talk about or anything like that. If you suggest it, it's absolutely going to be put on the list of things. But I've just been interested to know, Sean and I have been at this for 8 years. We've had a very specific approach for 8 years. We feel the Lord calling us to expand in terms of how we're serving you guys for actual practical discipleship in this world. And we're just interested to hear, if are there topics that we've never addressed that you'd like to hear us address? We may not. There's some topics we just don't get into, like the sacred name thing is probably a big one where we're not dogmatic about specific pronunciation of a specific version of that name. But, are there other types of shows you'd be interested in seeing from us? Other ways that we can serve you through this medium, through our teaching, that you would find helpful for your walk? So if you want to put any suggestions in the comments.
And don't just put 42 series. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it.
No, I mean, some people mentioned on my post they'd like to see us talk more about marriage, and we've been talking about that. We've decided we'll probably get back into doing some of our reaction videos because those give us the opportunity to talk about marriage in an area that we feel safe in. Like Sean and I absolutely don't feel called to do like personal marriage counseling. We don't necessarily want to open floodgates of people like sharing their problems with their marriages in the chat or things like that. But there's a lot of content online, a lot of real short reels that address little topics within marriage that people go through. And so we've thought, okay, well, we can bring back do some more reaction shows where we have the opportunity to talk about marriage from that aspect, So, someone was saying they wanted to see more biblical archaeology discussion. I don't really know how Sean feels about that. That's like a whole nother realm of study maybe he doesn't have time for. But just curious to know how we can better meet people's spiritual needs and how we can better serve you. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that won't prompt any questions in the chat, but that's my question for you guys is just, where can we serve better? $42 is dependent on the Lord bringing Sean specific information at specific times. So you really got to ask the Lord to help Sean with his next 42 episode.
No, I've got all the information. This is collating it all it's just going through, 1,000 years of history and trying to make it relevant to the purpose of, so it's just a big video. Yeah. But other 42 aspects and IB aspects are, I feel like God guides me towards how I want to present the information in a specific teaching.
Yeah.
So, I've got another short IB that I'm working on for tomorrow night, like we did a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But just on the history of exorcism again, but from a unique angle that you don't hear people talk about.
What kind of guests? Are there other kinds of guests you'd like to see Sean have on?
Well, they can put whomever they want.
It's limited to who will accept the invite. We're persona non grata for some of these people in the internet space, but someone was mentioning maybe more testimony episodes, more testimony shows. I don't know. You've never really done that much other than having some of your guests explain a little bit of their testimonies, but
Jamie Ho, starting point for you is to watch our Investigating Babylon series. We go over spiritual warfare in great depth. It's not mystical woo-woo. It's all very practical stuff from scripture and history. Investigating Babylon series. You find it under our playlists, under our channel. I think you'll enjoy it.
Travis, I personally would love to see Sean reacting to internet nonsense. I think those would be funny. We got such mixed feedback about reactions. Some people were like, oh, this is what's happening to Kingdom in Context. And then other people were like, hey, this is great. This is kind of a little change up. This is, I love to hear you guys talk about marriage. This is kind of a different vein of, is a different genre, and some people enjoyed it, some people didn't, and it kind of just petered out. But when I was asking people the other day what they'd like to hear us, marriage was a big one that they wanted to hear us talk about. I feel like at 8 years we've got a little bit of wisdom to offer people. I think I personally as a wife feel like I have some valuable lessons I've been learning that I could offer to other wives out there, but definitely feel more safe doing it in a reaction environment so that I'm not like, I don't want to give anyone advice that's going to blow up their life, I always want to kind of try to keep that contained if I can. More call-in shows for people to give their testimonies.
Hey there, West Blaze. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, you guys can go check out West Blaze channel as well if you want. We've done 50 plus Uncommon Grounds over there. He's also got a series called Fight the Good Fight. That's very edifying, very beneficial. You guys go check that out as well. West Blaze Music. That's how you type it in on YouTube. Should take you to his channel. Juan, thank you for the super chat, brother. That's really generous. Appreciate that. Thank you for your blessing. And also, thank you to everyone that blesses us monthly.
Yeah.
Everyone that's watching and listening, from PayPal to Patron to Cash App to PO Box, like you guys are amazing. I want to shout people out, but people have chastised me for that in the past and said, "Don't shout me out. You're stealing my blessing."
Yeah.
So, thank you if you're listening and you donate to us regularly. Like there's people in live chat that donate to us regularly. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are extremely instrumental in us doing what we do, being able to produce the amount of content that you see. So there's a different type of thing, guys, when it comes to like making a channel and talking about the Bible. This is why you can either create like all these series that we've created, like IB, like 42, even with Wes over there doing Uncommon Ground. Like these take time. Like the research, the everything involved. Like this, you guys are helping me have the time to do that when you support us. Otherwise, I'd have to go get another job again. Like in the early days, I was working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I was working 3 jobs trying to, it's like Ecclesiastes. I think it's in chapter 11. I think it's like verse 8, it's like, here, let me see if I can go read it real quick. I just was talking about it with a buddy the other day. But this is always on my mind because I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, I want to be able to provide for folks a wealth of teachings and videos and series so that you guys can address all angles and all topics if possible, but it just takes a lot of time. All right, it's actually verse 6, Ecclesiastes 11, verse 6. It says, sow your seed in the morning and do not rest your hands in the evening, for you don't know which one will succeed, whether it's this or that, or if both will equally prosper. So if you look in our channel, guys, you see that some of the content we've done prospered. People watched it, enjoyed it. It got shared. It got, pushed in the algorithm kind of thing. But then there's other things that we've tried to do and talk about, and people just don't seem to care. Like it's like take a lot of time and effort to create that time of video, but no one seems to respond to it, right? So, but even trying that, right? Trying to figure out what people need and what people are responding to, that I wouldn't be in a place to do that if it wasn't for everyone that supports us. So our huge shout out and thank you so much for all you guys' generosity and support for us and all the different ways that you do. So,
which is why we do want to make it clear that we see ourselves as in service to you. I don't know. I guess I started praying a few years ago to the Lord to give me more of a servant's heart, and I'm feeling it. And now I'm like, okay, how do I serve these people in a better way? Because I kind of have just been doing my thing and, people seem to be edified. Now I'm like, okay, Lord, I feel you calling me to be a bit more intentional about that. That's why I opened up my inbox through Facebook for Titus 2 discipleship with other women. That was something I was really not comfortable with for a long time. He really nudged me out of the nest on that one in terms of the comfort zone, but it's been wonderful. It's been so edifying for me to be discipling other women. I benefit from it. So yeah, I guess I'm just like, what more can we do for these people who make it possible for us to work for the Lord? So it's important for us that you guys know that we do see ourselves as serving you, as servants to the body. So we don't just look at this and feel entitled to do it. We prayed for many years that the Lord would help us stop working for the world so we could work for him. It wasn't about, give us enough money so we can retire. It was like, no, we don't want to work for, moth and dust. We want to work for you, Father. So just hoping you guys know our hearts on that and hear our hearts on that. It's important to me. Sean has definitely been trying to reach out and find more Catholics and Orthodox to hop on and chat with us. We don't seem to be as notorious in that crowd yet. So, maybe we'll be able to reel some in, because we would like that too. in a lot of my studies, I have been endeavoring. I didn't dive into church history to try and debunk anything. I just wanted to understand where they were coming from. And I think that that is such a lost virtue in our community of learning about Christian doctrine just to understand it, not to agree with it, not to prove it wrong, not to show why they're really pagans, but to just understand our Christian forefathers and why they made the choices they made. To me, it has helped my sense of doom in relation to them, and like thinking, oh, they're all just so deceived, and they're all just, it was a very icky feeling before I took the time to just try and understand them. I didn't come into agreement with them. Some people do through that process. I think the people who do don't necessarily have the best thorough understanding of the Bible before they go into that research, and that might be why they end up going that way. But for me personally, it's been really beneficial just to come to understand where they're coming from. So definitely I would love, for Sean to be able to get more Orthodox and Catholic actual priests, not the catechumens, not the ortho bros, but like the actual priests who are trained in the actual discipleship of their churches, because they definitely have a more colorful knowledge of things.
Alec, hey, what's up, man? We don't really identify with any specific denomination, so in that regard, we would be non-denominational. We're typically, because we do keep the law of God and the commandments of God as much as applies to us, and we teach that as a part of discipleship, we often get labeled into the Torah camp, or the we're very much not within the Hebrew roots teachings on a lot of Hebrew roots channels, but we still get called that. We get labeled that anyway. But we actually attend a church that's a non-denominational church in our community, and I just learned recently that the pastor even watches us from time to time. So, that's cool. Bondservant. Yeah, I would talk with whoever that is. I don't know who Biblical Hitman is, but I would talk with anybody about it, because it's just the scriptures, and I don't always feel comfortable contacting other guests for a connection to a third party guest. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that can be abusing a friendship. But I don't know. I don't know the relationship there with what you're alluding to. So if you know Biblical Hitman, just tell them to email me. It's in all of our videos. Email address is at the description of all of our videos, and just tell them to email me and reach out to me, and we'll set something up to talk. Thanks, Incarnate Unlimited. Appreciate you. Thanks for always being here. Yeah, Daniel, we're having this fakery bakery swimming up. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the biblical cosmology destroys all the current propaganda. So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, actually, the pastor of this church texted Sean after his show the other night with the Mormon fellow.
Alec is in the studio here. He's in live chat.
Awesome. And Sean and I kind of, we've been unsure of how things are going to go at this church because we're not Trinitarians. And of course, we're not going to make that an issue at the church. We're not. We're not so obsessed with the topic that we think everybody has to have it right like the Trinitarians do. But it's been this kind of weird feeling of kind of feeling like we're like these in hiding non-Trinitarians, where I'm like, we tell people about our channel, but then there's also a part of us that's like, but don't go watch too much of it just in case, people get freaked out about this Trinity thing, because it's been so pounded into their heads that it's a salvational issue. And the moment they hear anyone question it, they think it's like this big evil thing. So of course, Sean and I have been, we've been nervous about that. So when Sean got a text from the pastor the other night, and he was like, the pastor was saying, it was so wonderful to watch you operate in the gift, that God has given you, and watch you do what God has called you to do. And he didn't say anything about Trinitarian stuff in those texts, which the Trinitarian was something that him and the guest had met debating people over the Trinity on TikTok. So, I mean, I would think it was obvious that Sean is not a Trinitarian in that video. So I don't know. We're hoping that was kind of a little confirmation from the pastor for us that it's something we're not going to have to worry about, because Sean has met with both pastors of the church to be respectful to them, before we started going, to let them know we have a channel and we teach the Bible online, and we may have some differences in doctrine, and some of your people may see our channel and get worried about that. And we want you to know before we even come through your doors, we are not here to try and teach anyone contrary to what you guys teach. We are here to serve in this church, to submit to your authority in this building, in terms of, we're not going to usurp you with teaching or pulling people aside to tell them, oh, this is wrong, anything like that. We just want a Christian community for our family, in this, city that we live in where we don't know anybody. And
sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that for me, that was a very uplifting, little testimony. That was a good sign from our pastor. It made me feel good that he watched that show and didn't walk away with it thinking, oh, this guy's a heretic. So,
well, the reality of all churches is that the people sitting in the pews, there's two realities that are unspoken in all churches. The majority of the people sitting in the pews don't even know what the pastoral team believes.
True.
They don't hear the fullness of the seminary teachings from the pastoral team on a Sunday service. They hear an anecdotal message with a few scriptures sprinkled in there. They don't go into all the deeper theology that the pastoral team has believed, unless you're at a very dogmatic church, which is rare these days.
Yeah.
Very rare. Okay. Even within the frozen chosen churches, as they generically call them, right? Like the hardcore denominational churches of the Anglican, the Lutheran, the Baptist, the Methodist, that they just kind of sit there and listen and then go home. You know what I mean? Like, even within that, I've been to those churches. I used to go to a Methodist church for like 8 years. They never talked about their deep theological Methodist only beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? They never did a sermon comparing their beliefs with the Baptists or the Catholics, right? They just preached a message about Jesus and hopefully prompt people to give their heart to Jesus, right? So the average person, for one, doesn't know what the pastoral team really believes about the Bible. And two, if they ever did have that conversation, you would find a lot of the people don't agree.
Yeah.
Because they're not there for deep theology. They're there for fellowship. They're there to be the hands and feet. They're there because they feel like they've been told, and they feel like this is how I can grow with God and be known by God. I got to go to church every Sunday, right? So yeah, it's just one of those deals where we're not any type of specific denomination. We just disciples of Christ. We love Jesus. Peanut Corn Gallery is asking, what's your opinion on lizard people in the movie They Live? It seems to be a hot topic. Hollywood withstanding, okay?
Yeah.
Historical scripture tells us that when you go into Enoch and Jubilees, and even in passages in the wider accepted canons, like in 2 Samuel 23, talks about the lion like men of Moab. Some translations even call them Ariels. A lot of people speculate, okay, the idea, what we've taught, if you go, Peanut Corn Gallery, to our Investigating Babylon series, and you go to episode 3, it's called The Science of Giants. All right. And I go into what First Enoch describes as how the biological how did the rebellious angels make Nephilim? How did they sin against the animals? What is going on there? And I feel like it tells you. And so when you research the things that it mentions, you start to realize, oh, this is for genetic corruption and manipulation. And so this is why you see, both before the flood and after the flood, you see modified genetics, both with men and animals. A plethora of stories in the ancient world that they don't think are myths. They think they're actual history of chimeras. It's a Greek thing. It's like, it's a part of their history, is that they were chimeras running around, of like extremely large wolves and extremely large beast-like animals that were a breed between different species, that they worship them as false gods in some regards. The three-headed Cerberus of Hermes, like they didn't believe that these were myths. These were just legends. Like, they taught this as history. And the point is, even in modernity, we see that We see that type of genetic cross manipulation and corruption is still possible today. So I like to use this analogy that I read about DARPA. In case anyone doesn't understand what DARPA is, it's a high-level government agency that deals with military strategizing, intelligence, research, and development. Okay. So DARPA in like 2011, so here it is, 2026. Okay, 15 years ago, they announced, and this is just what they announced. Okay. They announced that they had been able to successfully crossbreed a spider and a goat. So a goat and a spider. Like my sound effects. So a spider and a goat, they successfully crossbred them so that when the goat produces milk, there's an abundance of spider silk in that milk. And then they can take that spider silk out of the milk and make like extra strong Kevlar vests for military. That's in modernity. That's what they're telling you in the research reports that they publish publicly. Okay. So because the reason was they knew that the elasticity of the spider web was stronger than anything that we know to man, like as a natural God-made substance. And they're like, but it's in too small quantities and we can't like literally get it from a spider web. We need large amounts of it. So like they had to figure out a way for another piece of biology to create large amounts of it, because spiders don't create large amounts of it. So then they genetically caused the goat to make spider milk, spider web milk stuff. So those are two very different species, guys. The reason why I say this, it's not a liger, a lion father and a tiger mother.
It's not a mule.
Those are jungle cats. Those are very similar in genetic genome. A spider is an arachnid. It's an insect. A goat is a full-on mammal. Those are very different in anthropological world. Okay. So if they can do that in modernity and they're willing to tell you about it, I don't put it past that they've done all other manners of experiments out there that they're not telling you about. Right. So I'm not definitively claiming that I'm on board with all the lizard people conspiracies. But I don't doubt that there's a wide variety of experimentation that's been done that people see from time to time, and hear the legends grow because of it. Awesome, Daniel. Yeah, man. We're going to be doing more of those. We're going to be doing more of the TikTok discussions and YouTube discussions. And I'm also wanting to do just like once a week, just live streams just for all the patrons as well after we finish the classes. So crazy. It's hilarious to me. Just take this with a grain of, just laugh along with me. I'm trying to be funny, guys, but it's just hilarious to me how much time I spend studying the Bible, which is like trying to make it as simple as possible for you. The number one book in the world that people research, argue over, have died for. And I try to make it as simple as possible so that you can take and share with other people with joy and understanding. And people just want to know my take on the lizard people. I'm in the wrong game. That's why I'm not. That's how you know I'm not in it for money. That's how you know.
And that's not to throw shade on you for asking about the lizard people. I mean,
that's why I said laugh with me.
Yeah, it is a massive topic. It's been a massive topic. I mean, I heard David Icke talking about it 25 years ago. So I think there's probably some sort of truth to that, but I don't know that it's this shape shifting. I don't know that that's physically possible in the Lord's creation. I believe chimeras are a thing. I believe they were a thing in the past and they are a thing now. I believe they probably have who knows what
in labs down in their DUMBs, their deep underground military bases. Like I believe there's probably some truth to some of that stuff, but I don't know if it's like literally just shape-shifting lizards. I don't know if that's humanly possible. Now, demons, when someone is possessed by a demon, their face can look absolutely distorted and not human. And I have experienced that literally right on top of me, right in front of my face. Someone's face that was like it was a demon in their face and not their actual face. Eyes black, pouring sweat like a faucet. So I think people may see things in someone's face that makes them think they're seeing an actual shape-shifting thing happening, but really it's whatever distortion goes on with demonic possession. So that would be my take on actual shape-shifting lizards. Speaking of shape-shifting lizards, our toddler just woke up.
His behavior, his demeanor shapeshifts in a heartbeat.
He literally from dead sleep in the bed to just boop up running off the bed.
No, I was implying more about his attitude. He goes from super happy, laughing, loving to just screaming. It's just, he's at that stage. This could be the last question that you could take. I might take a few more if you need to go get him real quick, and then
I can go get him
because he's.
What do we need that we haven't shared? I mean, I guess we don't ask for prayer very often, but we can always use prayer. Always use prayer for guidance, direction.
Yeah, prayer to help us get the message out to more people, because we've been talking. YouTube is censoring us, guys. We're not getting recommended to people. People are telling me constantly that they either don't get notified or they got notified like 3-4 days after we went live, or we had a show or something. So it's, pray for some sort of favor within getting the message out through this medium, because we're able to reach a ton more people than if we were just open up a brick and mortar church.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel called to that. So this is, I have to go with what I feel God's called me to do, which is this type of thing. And this is the best way to reach as many people as possible. So that's why we're encouraging, to follow us on other venues than just YouTube, because YouTube doesn't support us. Yeah. They don't want us to grow, something to consider.
It seems like YouTube is actively working against us at this point. I mean, the views that have dropped and our sub count hasn't dropped. So that's typically a sign of your content's just being throttled. Your subscribers are literally not being notified that you're live. You're not being put into people's feeds like you're supposed to. So yeah, just prayers, to overcome algorithms, to overcome the forces that are trying to work against us from reaching more people, the people who are ready to hear the message, like, sure, we run into all kinds of people who disagree with us and want us to not have a platform and think that we're dangerous heretics. We would love prayer to have the people brought to us who are at the same place all of you were in when you first heard us. And instead of being triggered and shocked and angry, you're like, oh, wait a second. Let me go test that. We need more people like that. Those are the people we're trying to reach. So I will wrap it up there, and just I will second Sean's gratitude and thank you guys. And I just really love you guys so much. I've been asking the Lord to soften my heart and give me more of a servant's heart, and like it's making me all mushy and gushy now. So sorry about that, but love you guys. Really appreciate your prayers, and I'm gonna go get my little shapeshifter. And I will see you in a little bit.
Love you, sweetie. Yeah, what's funny, Travis, is if I did a channel that was only Galatians, I'd probably have 500K, just 500K. Like the topic would only be Galatians all day, all night, all year, debates, discussions, panels, all Galatians all the time. It would be like 500K easy. I would have so many subscribers on our channel like that, but It's not what I don't feel called to do that. I feel called to like literally do what we're doing, the gospel of the kingdom, and then all the themes that go with scripture and make it make sense. Thank you, Trey. Appreciate that. Yeah, Alec, because it's so divisive, it would just be nothing but constant debate all the time. You would have people showing up like constantly from the Torah camps, the Hebrew roots camps, the Hebrew Israelite camps, you'd have people showing up all the time arguing about Galatians. All right, guys, we'll take a few more questions if you have some. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate you, brother. Alex asking, how would I define the message? As Lindsay said, the message, like the Bible translation of the message, or just like our message as a channel, which is the gospel of the kingdom that Jesus preached. He mentioned it over 40 times in the Gospels, Luke 4, 43 and 44. It's the gospel of the kingdom. I did share with you in our interview the other night that heaven's a real place. The Father's real house is coming down. Christ is going to a real place to prepare for us a real place. If it were not so, he would not have told us. That message is greatly overlooked starting around the 4th century AD when they started allegorizing everything in the heavens. And because Platonism and Gnosticism is not a compatible presupposition to the biblical claims. So you had a lot of philosophers that became believers and became bishops and started reinterpreting a bunch of stuff starting in the 4th century. And people lost sight of the message of the gospel of the kingdom, which is the Father's real. He's got a real house, literally really lives above you. And that house is going to come down through the firmament and sit on the ground as promised Abraham between the Euphrates and the Nile. And that's how there's going to be peace on the earth. That is the message of Matthew 24:14. This gospel shall be preached to all nations, and then the end will come. It is the eternal gospel that the angel is shouting in Revelation before the firmament opens up and Christ returns. Yeah, Daniel, just think about it. I don't know how old you are, Daniel, but I'm 46. Okay, so when I was a child, I go to the grocery store with my parents. This is in the 80s, right? And I would be fascinated by the Enquirer on the news rack as they're checking out their groceries. I'm looking at the candy shelf and the news rack, and I'm staring at the Enquirer or the Sun or the Star, all these tabloid magazines, and they constantly talked about stuff like lizard people, aliens. Pick something, some tabloid topic that was sensational, and people loved it. And for years, those were very popular magazines because the photos were clearly fake, the stories were clearly fake. People eat it up. People eat it up, man. So it's just a new version of that. There's lots of YouTube channels that talk about that stuff. They're probably super popular, but it's not for me. Hey, David, what's going on, brother? The back of my t-shirt is on the Sanctified Supply Company website, and it's I can't see real quick. It's just a list of the feast days. If you can see it. Of the festivals. No, I haven't had a personal experience with the kingdom because that's a literal country, heavenly city whose architect and builder is God. I've had a personal experience with the king of that kingdom, Christ, our risen Lord. And his message, I just decided I want to take his message seriously because he said that's what's going to go to the end of the earth and that will be preached before the end comes. So when I step into a situation where I take an evaluation of Christendom in my life and I realize who's actually teaching this, because it does require you to understand biblical cosmology. And then that made a resurgence in the last 12 to 15 years worldwide. And to the point where it's been brought up in front of Congress. Biblical cosmology has been brought up in front of Congress. Like there's intentional suppression by YouTube on the topic as a result of that congressional meeting. And there is people in all countries across the world are now going out and doing their own experiments to realize that where we live is not what we've been told. And they're going out and learning science and doing their own science and realizing, oh my goodness, there's been some massive corruption in the scientific world to push a narrative that the Bible doesn't describe. And so I just think it's it also debunks all this alien nonsense they're trying to get you to believe right now. The Bible's already told us where our spiritual battle is in the cosmos. It's that word cosmos kratos in Ephesians 6:12, 6:10 through 12. It's the spiritual battle that we fight with the evil forces in high places. And this is the realm between earth and our sky, and the higher up of the heaven, the sky, before you get to the firmament. This is where there's a lot of evil spiritual activity. So if you haven't already, Alec, you're welcome to go check out our Investigating Babylon series. I think you'll be highly edified by it, especially if you love history and you love scripture, and if you love eschatology. Okay, so we've come to a definitive conclusion on what's real and what's not. So it may challenge some of the beliefs you share with me the other night, but I still think you'll be highly edified by the videos. Go to our playlist on our channel, Investigating Babylon. Hey, thank you, Heart for His Glory. I appreciate the compliment. As always, Tyler, thank you for being here, brother, and being able to drop those scriptures in the live chat. You're a blessing, brother. Sharon Thomas, yeah, okay. Thank you for watching from Australia. I don't know what time it is right now over there, but we appreciate you tuning in live. I'm sorry that you don't have, Christian content like this over there for you guys to be edified by. No, not really a lesson learned, just simply the lesson is I choose to be a servant to others, right? Jesus washed feet the night before he died. He washed the feet of the guy who betrayed him and handed him over to his killers and his persecutors before that traitor left the room, right? So if he can do that, I can go serve people that may not agree with my doctrine, right? Who are also believers in Christ. And so that was the pre-commitment I made in my heart before I talked to any pastor at any church to see if they would be willing to welcome us there for fellowship, just to serve, not to teach, not to, we knew the inevitable would happen, which has started to happen, which is people find out about what we do and they ask us about it, but we're not trying to actively sway them into our teachings as if it's an ultimatum or anything. But we know that they're probably going to watch the channel from time to time, and that's fine, But any lesson that we learned was like kind of before that process even began, which was just like, hey, here's the lesson we're trying to live out, which is where can I go serve people? Where can I be a part of a fellowship and community? And so that I know about opportunities to serve, right? It's not like every week I got to go and, help someone move stuff from their garage or nothing like that. Like that may come up in the future, but, it's not like every week that I go on a mission trip with them and do stuff. But, when the point is you're getting hooked into a community for fellowship so that you can be there to pray with people when they need prayer, or they can pray for you, or at the same time, if they need physical help, you can be aware of who needs the help and when. It's not good that we isolate ourselves. So we just have to be mature. If we think that we've got more sound doctrine in certain areas, then we have a greater responsibility to have more love and wisdom in all of our ambassadorship of Christ to other people, that not just our enemies, but also fellow believers. So this is why you see me on the live streams, guys, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Rumble or whatever, and you see me on the live streams, and I these people get crazy with me and get out of pocket, say rude and crazy stuff, and I'm not calling them names and being weird. I'm just gonna keep them from further embarrassing themselves. I may remove them from the stream, but like I'm not gonna let them just get me irate and get sinful myself, because I know that these are the people that we're called to serve. We're the body of believers. It's each other. We're called to serve each other. And if that means I've got to let someone talk foolish to me from time to time, okay, that's fine. I can take it. I'm a big boy. You can scream at me. You can shout at me. You can call me a heretic. You can call me a false teacher. You can call me a cult leader, all the different things that you've seen people call us in the past. But I'm here just because Christ is in my heart, and I'm trying to love you and serve you the best way I can. And so sometimes that happens through teachings on YouTube. Other times it happens in practical ways in our community with engaging with other people. So Lisa, yes, what we've said this since 2020, since 2019, I think, actually, since the first time people asked us about it. It's like, yes, you should find a local church. If you don't have look, this is what I said earlier. Even the people in that local church don't 100% agree with the pastors of that church. They don't understand the theology the pastors have been taught. And even if they did, they wouldn't agree with all of it. I promise you. So any church around you is a fellowship, a body of believers who doesn't agree on all points of doctrine. So if you come in there and depends on if you're trying to adopt, the commandments in your life to the fullest of their applicability, then okay, just go look for a place to serve, and don't go look to evangelize or proselytize them to your specific belief. Just go make a relationship with them. Practice the love walk part of loving our neighbor, right? Which is Torah. We got to practice that part. What easier place to practice it than a fellowship of fellow believers, as opposed to trying to go into a bar with people that are unbelievers or go into an atheist convention and just get mocked and spit on. Right. That's a difficult place to practice your love walk, but you can start off with a warm place, right? You can start off with just going into a fellowship of other believers, even though you may not be like-minded on every single point of doctrine. Even within Torah groups, they're not all like-minded on every point of doctrine. So, I mean, that's why you don't see a lot of them on my channel. I want them to come on my channel and have a discussion with me, like you guys saw a few nights ago with Alec, who's part of the LDS church. Alec and I didn't agree on several things, but we didn't get crazy with each other. We kept it loving. There's people in the Torah crowds that won't even do that with me. They can't do that. They don't have the maturity to do that with me. I've invited them. I've asked them. They just act like I don't exist. So you're not going to find like-minded everywhere with anybody. So what we are called to do, though, is we're called to go into this world, whether believer or unbeliever, whether friend or enemy, and we're to treat them with the same love. Sow into them the word of God. Yes, you may hear things at a church you decide to go to serve people. You may hear things in the pulpit that you strongly disagree with when it comes to the application of God's law. But we're there to serve. When I go out into the marketplace, or I go into a mall, or I go into, a venue where there's a lot of people, and I want to go serve people and show them love, there's a lot of bad doctrine being spoken around me at the same time anyway. You know, I know a lot of people did, sister. A lot of people did, because it's tough sometimes to hear things that have never been challenged, or things that are spoken out of ignorance, or things that are clearly being taken out of context, because you just read the chapter and you realize, okay, it can become awkward, right? It can become an awkward moment, but you don't have to make it awkward if you never bring it up, right? Your walk is with Christ. And I mean, as long as you're not going to like here's where I guess my wife and I should probably draw the line and make sure everyone understands this. If you go to an EO or a Catholic church, it's going to be a different experience than going to a Protestant style church or a non-denom evangelical charismatic style church. At a Catholic or an EO church, they will make you confess with your mouth certain things before they accept you. So that may be a pretty big deterrent for you. It's definitely a deterrent for me. That's why we look for more like a non-denominational style church, because I'm not going to confirm the bodily assumption of Mary. I'm not going to confirm that their priest baptizing me is the only way I get salvation. I'm not going to confirm that non-biblical stuff. So, and I'm not going to be forced to confirm it with my mouth. But if you're not going to a church that's making you stand up and say the law's done away with as a profession of faith, they may have some bad teachings. Love them. Love, just be there, be a light, be the lights that causes people to glorify God in heaven, as Christ taught us. That's what we're called to be. That is our maturity. Awesome to hear, Sharon. Awesome to hear. Yeah, if we can't love fellow brothers and sisters in the faith who don't agree on points of doctrine with us, how are we going to love the world who hates us and wants to kill us? Eastern Orthodox one. That's a shorthand for Eastern Orthodox. EO. And look, guys, for anyone listening, if you do go to a Torah-centric fellowship, there's nothing wrong with that either, right? Again, like I say, they may be actually teaching some stuff you don't really agree with either. So, because they teach a lot of things that they just carried with them from mainstream churches. But ultimately, it's just another wonderful opportunity for you to love people. David, it's not silent consent, brother. It's not silent consent. Again, like I said, we're not called to correct every single person that we encounter in this life. Peter, let's give you an example from the Gospels, okay? From Scripture, all right? When Christ was in John 13, doing the Last Supper, washing feet, teaching them, amazing discourse, promised them he'd return. That's like approximately 10 years away from Acts 10, which happens later. And what happened later in Acts 10? 10 years after that last amazing Passover dinner with the disciples in Christ in the upper room, 10 years later, a Gentile convert, Cornelius, is being sent by the instruction of an angel, is being sent to Peter to correct him on bad doctrine. Peter simultaneously is being corrected on bad doctrine through a vision. So that means Peter, while sharing in the Passover with Christ in the upper room the night before Christ was crucified, sat there in the room with Christ and maintained extremely bad doctrine. Same thing with Judas. Judas was an outright unbeliever, as John 6 tells us. And Christ still washed all their feet and loved them and treated them the same. This is what we're called to do. We're not Romans 4:14. We're not called to judge the servants of our master. We're called to love them, serve them. So I get it. When you're stepping into a church, you're hearing teachings. Okay. So unless you're not at a place right now where you feel like they may sway you from what you've come to know, that's another conversation, honestly. And that's more upon your conviction. If you don't want to go sit under a teaching that you think may sway you into a different mindset because you're still studying out the teaching that you currently believe, okay, that's between you and Christ and you and God. But ultimately, like, look for a place to serve. If that's going to be your situation, if there's no churches in your area that you want to go to for fellowship or to serve them, look for a soup kitchen, look for a ministry that works with clothing to the poor, look for any type of other ministry out there. Maybe there's a local rehab ministry that not rehab, but what's it called? There's construction companies out there that help do charity work for people and rebuild houses that have been destroyed, like a Samaritan's Purse organization. You might be able to be a part of that and go and like literally help people rebuild homes or fences or porches or garages or something and help their lives. There's some local ministries that are associated with churches that you can go do second Saturday type things where you like every second Saturday of the month, they go out to they go out to widows' homes in the community, usually older ladies, and you just do handyman stuff around their house and help them with things that need fixing around their house, which is always a thing. It's always a thing. There's always going to be widows in your town, and there's always going to be older folks in your town who are less mobile, and they need help with mowing the lawn. They need help with fixing that doorknob. They need help with, whatever, what I'm saying, in their house. So there's all types of different ministry opportunities for you to go serve the people around you if you're just dead set on not being able to clamp down on your tongue when you are sitting in a church listening to something you disagree with. So keep that in mind. Okay. Congratulations, Morgan, on your new marriage and child on the way. Bun in the oven, cooking that bun in the oven. Happy bun announcement. What is a bun? Is that that's like an old word, right? What is a bun? Is it like a bundt cake? Yeah, I know that it means a baby's on the way, but what's the bun? Is it just supposed to be like a slang for a bread loaf? Okay, so it's just bread loaf. How come we don't still call them buns? And why are we calling babies bread? They're not Jesus. Jesus was the bread of heaven. He was the only bun in the oven that we know about, right? A bun? Like a burger bun? What about a hot dog bun? What if the baby's shaped like a hot dog bun? Okay, we're getting silly here. Let's back up. Let's back up. All right, I don't see any other questions here in the live chat. Yeah, there you go, David. My grandfather did prison ministry for years. You could be a blessing there, bro. Okay. I'm getting hungry too. It's Shabbat. Hey guys, if you guys are not celebrating the Sabbath, look, it's simple. It's like the easiest commandment to do. You just take the day off work, focus on God, focus on family, get in the word, build yourself up, build your family up, and also you can just relax. You can relax. You can relax. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Thank you for all your interaction here in the live chat today. And hopefully these are a blessing to you. And we'll see you next Saturday.